Am I the butthole for not supporting my sister's pregnancy after she ruined my own baby shower? Hey Reddit. I 32F am currently 6 months pregnant with my first child, and this is supposed to be one of the happiest times in my life. However, things have been anything but peaceful ever since my sister, Amanda 29F, decided to drop a huge bombshell at the worst possible moment. What was supposed to be a celebration of my pregnancy turned into something entirely about her, leaving me feeling angry, hurt, and incredibly bitter. But let me back up and provide some context, because this situation didn't just come out of nowhere. My relationship with Amanda has always been complicated, to say the least. Growing up, she was always the golden child in the family. She was the one who got straight A's, the one our parents dotted on, and the one who seemed to get everything handed to her on a silver platter. Meanwhile, I always felt like I was fighting for scraps of attention. That dynamic continued well into adulthood. I've worked hard for everything I have, including my career, my home, and now this pregnancy, which was the result of years of trying and a lot of heartbreak along the way. My husband, Tom, and I struggled with infertility for almost 3 years before we were finally blessed with this little miracle. So you can imagine how important every little milestone is for us. When I found out I was pregnant, I was over the moon. I couldn't wait to share the news with my family. And of course, Amanda was one of the first people I told. She seemed happy for me at the time, but there was something a little off about her reaction. Instead of the usual excitement and congratulations, she just gave me this tight-lipped smile and said, "Wow, I guess it's your turn now." At the time, I didn't think much of it, but in hindsight, maybe that should have been a red flag. As my pregnancy progressed, things between us got. Amanda started making passive-aggressive comments here and there, like how I should enjoy the attention while it lasts because, in her words, people only care about babies for a little while. She would also complain about how annoying it was to see my social media filled with baby updates and ultrasound photos. I brushed it off because I didn't want to stir up drama. I figured maybe she was just feeling a little left out or jealous that I was getting more attention than usual, but I never could have predicted what was about to happen. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my best friend, Anna, threw me the most beautiful baby shower. It was everything I had dreamed of and more. All of my closest friends and family were there, the decorations were perfect, and the whole day felt magical. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was truly being celebrated, and it meant the world to me. But of course, Amanda couldn't let me have that moment. About halfway through the baby shower, after we had cut the cake and opened a few gifts, Amanda stood up in front of everyone and asked for a moment of. At first, I thought maybe she was going to give a toast or say something sweet about me. Boy, was I wrong. Amanda took a deep breath, smiled that tight-lipped smile she always gives when she's about to drop a bombshell, and then she announced that she was pregnant. I was completely blindsided. I remember just sitting there, staring at her, trying to process what she had just said. Meanwhile, everyone else in the room started clapping and congratulating her. The focus of the entire event immediately shifted from my pregnancy to hers, and suddenly, it was like my baby shower didn't even matter anymore. People started coming up to her, asking her questions, and completely ignoring the fact that this was supposed to be my day. I was devastated. I felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I had been so excited for this day, and now it was ruined. I tried to put on a brave face for the rest of the shower, but I could barely hold back the tears. When the party was over, I broke down completely. Tom tried to comfort me, but even he was at a loss for words. I felt humiliated. Amanda had stolen my moment, and she knew exactly what she was doing. She could have announced her pregnancy at any other time, literally any other day, but she chose to do it at my baby shower. And the worst part, when I confronted her about it later, she acted like I was the one being unreasonable. A few days after the shower, I called Amanda and told her how hurt I was by what she did. I tried to stay calm, but my emotions were all over the place, and I ended up crying on the phone. I told her that I felt like she had deliberately stolen my spotlight and that I couldn't understand why she would do something like that. Her response? "Oh, come on, it wasn't that big of a deal. You're being dramatic. It's not like I planned it this way." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to explain that the timing of her announcement had completely overshadowed my baby shower, but she just kept brushing it off. She even went so far as to say, "Well, you're not the only one who's allowed to have a baby, you know. Maybe you should learn how to share the spotlight." That's when I lost it. I told her that this wasn't about sharing the spotlight, it was about her being selfish and inconsiderate. I told her that I had spent years dreaming of this moment, and she had ruined it for me. I also told her that I was done pretending like everything was fine between us because it clearly wasn't. She hung up on me. Ever since that phone call, Things have been tense between us. Amanda hasn't reached out to me once, and I haven't reached out to her either. Our parents, who were at the baby shower and witnessed everything, have tried to stay neutral, but I can tell they're uncomfortable with the whole situation. My mom keeps saying things like, "You two need to work this out before the babies come," but I don't see how that's going to happen. To make matters worse, Amanda's pregnancy has now become the center of attention in our family. Every time I talk to my mom, all she wants to talk about is how excited she is to be a grandmother to two babies, and how wonderful it is that Amanda and I are pregnant at the same time. It's like my pregnancy has become an afterthought, and I'm left feeling invisible. I've also noticed that my friends, many of whom were at the baby shower, are acting differently around me. They're more distant, and when I bring up anything related to the shower or Amanda's announcement, they either change the subject or make excuses for her. One friend even said, "Well, it's kind of nice that you'll get to experience motherhood together, right?" No, it's not nice, it's hurtful, and I feel completely alone in all of this. Here's where the real conflict comes in. Ever since the baby shower debacle, I've made the decision not to support Amanda's pregnancy. I haven't reached out to her, I haven't congratulated her, and I haven't asked how she's doing, frankly. I don't care. She stole my moment, and I can't bring myself to be happy for her. My husband, Tom, has been supportive of my decision, but even he's starting to get concerned about how this is going to affect our family dynamic in the long run. He keeps saying that we need to figure out a way to move forward, especially since our children are going to be cousins and will inevitably be a part of each other's lives. But the thought of supporting Amanda after what she did makes me sick. I can't get over the betrayal, and I don't see why I should be the one to extend an olive branch when she hasn't even apologized. Things came to a head a few weeks ago when my mom invited both Tom and me over for dinner. I should have known something was up because she kept insisting that it was just a casual family dinner, but as soon as we walked in the door, there was Amanda, sitting at the table with her husband. I immediately felt my stomach drop. The dinner was tense, to say the least. My mom kept trying to steer the conversation toward happy baby talk, but I could barely look at Amanda. I could feel the resentment bubbling up inside me, and I knew it was only a matter of time before something exploded. Sure enough, about halfway through dinner, my mom said something like, "Isn't it wonderful that you get to go through pregnancy together? It's such a special bond." That's when I snapped. I looked directly at Amanda and said, "Actually, it's not wonderful. What's wonderful is that I finally get to enjoy my pregnancy without you ruining it." The room went silent. Amanda's face turned bright red, and she looked like she was about to cry. My mom gasped, and Tom just put his head in his hands. But I didn't care. I had kept my feelings bottled up for so long, and I was done pretending like everything was okay. I wasn't going to sit through another dinner acting like nothing had happened, that Amanda hadn't selfishly derailed one of the most special days of my life. Amanda stayed quiet for a moment, looking down at her plate like a scolded child. I could tell she was trying to decide whether to defend herself or stay silent, but knowing her, I figured she wouldn't let me have the last word, and I was right. I didn't ruin anything, she finally muttered, her voice trembling with what I could only assume was a mix of anger and embarrassment. "I was just excited to share my news, and I didn't realize it was such a crime to do that at your baby shower. I didn't mean to hurt you, okay? You're blowing this way out of proportion." I could feel my blood boiling. She had the nerve to downplay what she did, to act like it was just a harmless little slip-up. But it wasn't harmless, it was deliberate. And she knew it. "You didn't realize?" I scoffed. "Amanda, you stood up in the middle of my baby shower after the cake, no less, and announced to everyone that you were pregnant. You know exactly what you did. Don't sit there and pretend you're some innocent victim here." Amanda's eyes filled with tears, and she turned to our mom, who was still sitting there, in shock, clearly trying to figure out how to handle the situation. "Mom?" Amanda whimpered, her voice wavering. "Do you think I'm the bad guy here? Do you think I did something so terrible?" My mom, ever the peacemaker, looked between the two of us like she clearly didn't want to take sides, but I could see in her eyes that she was leaning toward Amanda. She had always had a soft spot for her. That was nothing new. "I think," my mom said carefully, "that this has been blown out of proportion, and it's a shame that it's come to this. I don't think Amanda meant to hurt you, sweetheart," she added, glancing at me, "but I also understand why you feel upset. This was supposed to be your special day, and supposed to be." I interrupted, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "It was supposed to be my special day, Mom, but Amanda made sure it wasn't. I've spent months trying to let this go, trying to focus on my own pregnancy and not let her ruin this experience for me, but she doesn't get to pretend like what she did wasn't intentional." At that point, Amanda broke down in full sobs. I could hear her husband, Mark, whispering something to her, probably telling her to calm down or trying to console her, but I didn't care. I was too hurt. too angry to care about her feelings anymore. I had bottled up my own emotions for too long, and now they were spilling out uncontrollably. I'm sorry, Amanda finally choked out, between sobs. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I didn't mean to. I just thought it would be nice for us to go through this together. I was excited. I could hear the genuine emotion in her voice, but I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. You were excited? I repeated, shaking my head. You didn't think for 1 second that maybe I'd want to have my moment? That I'd want to have one day where everything wasn't about you? That was it. I had said what I had been holding inside for years. It wasn't just about the baby shower anymore, it was about everything. The years of Amanda being the center of attention, of me feeling like I was always in her shadow, fighting for scraps of acknowledgement. Amanda's sobbing grew louder, and my mom finally stepped in. Okay, enough, she said. This is not the time or place for this conversation. We're supposed to be a family, and we need to find a way to move forward. You're both going to be mothers soon, and your children will be cousins. You can't let this divide you. Tom, who had been sitting silently beside me, finally spoke up. Your mom's right, he said quietly, his voice calm but firm. This isn't just about you two anymore. You're both bringing new lives into this world, and those kids are going to need family. You're going to need each other, whether you like it or not. I could feel the weight of his words, but I wasn't ready to forgive Amanda. Not yet. The dinner ended awkwardly after that. Amanda and Mark left shortly after, with her still sniffling and wiping away tears. My mom tried to smooth things over, but I could tell she was disappointed in me. Tom and I left soon after, and the car ride home was silent. I could feel Tom's concern, but he didn't push me to talk about it. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed the dinner over and over in my mind. A part of me wondered if I had gone too far, if I should have handled things differently. But another part of me, the part that had been hurt for so long, felt vindicated. Amanda needed to hear the truth. She needed to understand how much she had hurt me, and maybe now, after everything, she finally would. But the days that followed were tense. My mom called me several times, urging me to make peace with Amanda, but I wasn't ready. Every time I thought about reaching out, the memory of her standing up at my baby shower, announcing her pregnancy, flooded my mind, and the anger bubbled back up. Tom, ever the diplomat, tried to gently nudge me toward reconciliation. I know you're hurt, he said one evening as we sat together on the couch. And I'm not saying Amanda was in the right, but this is your sister. You two have a lot of history, and your kids are going to grow up together. Do you really want them to grow up in a family where their moms don't speak? His words stung because I knew there was truth in them, but I couldn't just sweep everything under the rug. It's not that simple, I replied, sighing heavily. This isn't just about the baby shower, it's about everything, our whole lives. The way she's always been the golden child, and how I've always felt like I'm competing with her for everything. I can't just forgive her because it's convenient. Tom nodded, understanding. As always, I get that, but maybe really talking to her would help, not for her sake, but for yours. I thought about what he said for a long time after that. Maybe he was right. Maybe I needed to have a real conversation with Amanda, not just about the baby shower, but about everything that had built up over the years. But I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. A few weeks passed, and my due date was fast approaching. My pregnancy had been going smoothly for the most part, but the stress of everything with Amanda was starting to weigh on me. I wasn't sleeping well, and I could feel the tension affecting my mood. One afternoon, as I was folding baby clothes in the nursery, I got a call from my mom. Amanda's in the hospital, she said, her voice shaky. My heart dropped. What? What happened? She's having complications with the pregnancy. They're not sure what's going on, but she's being monitored closely. It's early, and they're worried about the baby. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over me. On one hand, I was still angry with Amanda, but on the other, I couldn't help but feel a pang of concern. Despite everything, she was still my sister, and the thought of something happening to her or her baby was terrifying. Do you want me to come to the hospital? I asked, my voice hesitant. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, my mom spoke. I think it would mean a lot to her if you did. When I arrived at the hospital, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. I hadn't seen Amanda since the dinner, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Would she be angry that I hadn't reached out sooner? Would she even want to see me? I walked into her hospital room, and there she was, lying in bed, looking pale and exhausted. Her husband, Mark, was sitting beside her, holding her hand. When she saw me, her eyes widened in surprise. For a moment, we just stared at each other, neither of us knowing what to say. I heard what happened, I finally said, my voice soft. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Amanda's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they weren't tears of anger or frustration, they were tears of fear. I'm scared, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I'm really scared. I felt a lump form in my throat. In that moment, all the anger and resentment I had been holding onto seemed to melt away. All I could see was my little sister, vulnerable and scared, facing something that no one should have to face alone. Without thinking, I walked over to her and took her hand. You're going to be okay, I said, trying to reassure her even though I wasn't sure if it was true. You and the baby are going to be okay. That hospital visit changed everything. Seeing Amanda so vulnerable, so scared, reminded me that no matter how much we had fought or hurt each other over the years, she was still my sister, and in that moment, I realized that I didn't want to lose her, not over a baby shower, not over years of pent-up resentment. After that day, things between Amanda and me slowly started to improve. It wasn't an overnight fix, there were still a lot of unresolved issues that we needed to work through, but we were both making an effort. We started talking more. Not just about our pregnancies, but about everything. We had long conversations about our childhood, about how we had both felt overshadowed by each other in different ways, and about how those feelings had shaped our relationship as adults. I told her how much it had hurt me when she announced her pregnancy at my baby shower, and she finally admitted that she had been feeling jealous of the attention I was getting. She hadn't meant to steal my moment, but she had acted out of her own insecurities. It wasn't easy to hear, but it helped me understand where she was coming from. As my due date approached, I found myself feeling lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I wasn't holding on to the same anger and bitterness that had been consuming me for months. Amanda and I were far from perfect, but we were finally on the path to healing our relationship. Tom noticed the change in me too. He told me that I seemed happier, more at peace, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could enjoy my pregnancy without the shadow of Amanda's betrayal hanging over me. When my baby was finally born, a beautiful, healthy little girl, I felt a sense of joy and relief that I hadn't felt in months. Tom and I were over the moon, and when Amanda came to visit us in the hospital, holding her own newborn baby in her arms, I felt a strange sense of closure. We weren't perfect, we never would be, but we were sisters, and that meant something. So Reddit, was I the butthole for not supporting my sister's pregnancy after she ruined my baby shower? Maybe. But sometimes, relationships are more complicated than a simple yes or no. What I've learned through all of this is that family is messy, and no one is perfect. Amanda and I still have a lot of work to do, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about the future, and as our children grow up together, I hope they'll have the kind of bond that Amanda and I are still learning how to build. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, please.